Welcome to Chatsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Chatsunami. I'm Satsunami and joining me today is my very good friend and, well, I think the correct term would be Star Wars aficionado / Jedi Master. Yep, so joining me today is of Jan, who is the host of the Beer and Chill podcast. So Jan, welcome back to Chatsunami.
Thank you for having me for Chatsunami.
Yes, only the best guests come on Chatsunami, don't you worry.
Of course. And I'm excited to talk about the Book of Boba Fett and his friends.
Because much like the Book of Boba Fett, I couldn't do this episode on my own, so I needed my very own fellow Mandalorian to come in and to join, which would probably make Craig like Baby Yoda, which that's another topic for another day. Craig, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving it in, okay?
I mean, like, you're basically saying that Craig is cute.
Your words, not mine. So, yeah, as you guys can tell, today we are going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, which, okay, let's rewind a bit. How did you feel after watching The Incredible Mandalorian? Like, how did you feel after watching the end of Season 2 and then being hit with the fact that there was going to be a spin-off series for Boba Fett?
First thing was, how does it really work? I mean, he just came to the room and he showed Bor Fortuna, and then he was like the leader, right? I was like thinking, like, what? How? I mean, can anyone just come in and shoot the guy at the chair and like be a criminal, you know, like mastermind, like criminal lord?
Do you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen the film Finding Nemo?
Yes.
So you know at the end where spoilers for Finding Nemo, I suppose.
No!
But, you know,
did they find him?
Well, that's for next week's episode. Do you remember at the very end, I think it was like before Marvel started doing the like post-credit scenes, but there was like a scene where the fish escape from the dentist's office, and remember how they like leap into the ocean and they're all like, yay, we're free! Now what?
Now what? Yeah, I think so. I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I felt when I watched it. It's like, yay, we killed Bib Fortuna. Now what? And that was it. It just cut. And it was like, huh. And I do agree with you. It was like, okay, where are they going to take us from here? Are you a big Boba Fett fan?
Okay, so I'm just going back to Big Fortuna. Like, okay, so does he supposed to sit at the throne and then kill him? What if he's just gonna stand up, you know, at the time, and then he's gonna shoot him? Okay, imagine you're a Gamorrean like guard, right? And you just slip. Because everyone slips one day, you know? And you accidentally pull the trigger and you accidentally shoot him. Are you accidentally the crime lord of Tatooine and the hut space?
I mean, I think the biggest, like, undersight here is the fact that although Jabba had, you know, like all the people, all the guards looking out for him, he gave the pigs axes. Why did he give the pigs axes?
For this reason.
Yeah. Is this why? Were the Gamorrean guards just going to be like, if I shot Jabba right now, they're the only ones that worked it out, okay? They were going to take over, but they didn't have a gun.
Okay, so when you eat a fish as a Jabba, right, and you got a bone stuck in your throat, and you die from that, is that bone a crime lord, or like what's happening then? Is it the fish?
The bone of Boba Fett. It seems like a kind of flawed premise. The fact we've spent the last couple of minutes picking apart the like power structure here of Tatooine, yeah, it just seemed like a flawed premise to begin with. And don't get me wrong, like there are a lot of cool characters and things, but yeah, kind of looking back to what I was saying before, were you a fan of Boba Fett?
I don't know. I actually very don't know, because he wasn't like, I know he's there. I saw him in The Empire Strikes Back. He was standing next to Darth Vader. You can't miss him out. I can't say I was like a big fan. I was like, yeah, I look at that. I know that guy. He is a Mandalorian, or he's supposed to be a Mandalorian, and he's played by Temuera Morrison even before he was born.
It's amazing what time travel and George Lucas can do. That's another spin-off series we want to see. We want to see George Lucas one. with a time machine, just going back being like, yes, I'm going to retcon all of this.
Jar Jar was a villain all along.
Don't do that. Don't give me hope. But I am pretty much in the same boat. I don't know. Boba Fett, sure, he's cool, but I'm going to be honest, like, watching the Clone Wars, and you'll probably be able to back me up on this, but watching the Clone Wars, every time Boba Fett came up, I get it. He was a kid. He wasn't really quote-unquote badass that he was in like Empire Strikes Back or anything. But he was always really annoying. Like, you were supposed to be like, oh, this is a young Boba Fett. But I was just so distracted by the fact he was so fucking annoying. You know, he was just so annoying.
How annoying? I actually remember him differently. I mean, there was one episode where he was annoying. That was the one when they kidnapped the princess, you know, with Asajj Ventress. That in that episode he is annoying. But I don't think him as annoying. I quite find him badass, to be honest.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just me looking at it through a critical lens, because I was thinking more of the fact that it just felt as if they were trying to big him up as a badass because, you know, he's Boba Fett. Like, if it was any other, like, random child clone that was trying to cause a rebellion or anything, you'd just be like, all right, okay, fair enough. But because it's Boba Fett, everyone's like, oh, it's Boba Fett, it's so cool. And maybe that's, like, where my bias is coming from. I was kind of like, we get it, this kid's gonna be Boba Fett, he's gonna be, you know, and obviously, like, nothing can happen to him because he's Boba Fett and everything, but he just kept getting, like, punched by older, you know, like, bounty hunters and things like that. Something that actually happens in this series, which I won't spoil too much here, but yeah, he was kind of a mixed character for me in, like, the Clone Wars, but obviously he wasn't, as we've established, he was like a kid, he wasn't the focus. Obviously the Clone Wars was the main crux of that series. Yeah, I remember in even the Empire Strikes Back, I mean, he was cool, but no.
I'm gonna say cute for a second.
No, no. Oh man, that helmet.
Oh.
But in all honesty though, it just seemed as if this was, and this is kind of my general thoughts before we jump right into it, but it seemed as if this was a series where things happened. You know, things happened.
Yeah. And Boba Fett was just in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, Boba Fett was just like, you know those cardboard cutouts you get off of Amazon? It almost felt like that, but with like a really Boba Fett fanboy standing behind it going, I'm Boba Fett, Sarlacc pit. And you're like, okay, this is going to be bad, isn't it?
I mean, that could be a good idea, you know, how he said that he needs to keep control of Mos Espa. You know how in UK you have like the cardboards of policemen looking after the shops, you know? Just put like cardboards of Boba Fett like every corner, you know? And the feed's gonna be like, oh my god, Boba Fett is here. Oh no.
Everybody scram.
Yeah.
It's the Fett. It's like, everybody scram. See, I would even watch that. Like, imagine Hot Fuzz, but with Boba Fett. You know? I mean, saying all honesty, will we just jump right into it and either salvage what we can, much like his armor, salvage what we can.
Oh my god. Okay, can we talk? We're gonna be skipping a lot now, but that fucking scene when he came back to the Sarlacc pit, look for his armor. Like, it was cool, but it didn't make sense. Like, why did he think the armor is inside, even though when he was clearly cautioned when he grabbed out of the Sarlacc pit with the armor on, and he was clearly cautioned when the Javas took the armor of him. So why did he thought of fucking coming back to the Sarlacc pit and look after his armor? Like, what?
You know what? That is a very good question, and that is a question we are going to answer. We're going to go away right now and look for the answer right after these messages. So, yep, wait around and we will be right back. Welcome to Chatsunami, a variety podcast that talks about topics from gaming and films to streaming and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we discussed Game of the Decade, Deadly Premonition, the romantic thriller, Birdemic, and listen to us get all sappy as we discuss our top 5 Christmas films.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, and all good podcast apps. As always, stay safe,
stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
We are Beer and Chill Podcast.
Podcast where we review TV shows, games, movies, and whatever else takes our fancy.
So what are you waiting for? If you're a cool kid like us, you're gonna listen to the Beer and Chill Podcast. You can get it anywhere from Spotify all the way to your grandmother's radio. My name is Jan.
And I'm Craigie C.
And we are
Beer and Chill.
I didn't know that's the reason why he went into the Sarlacc pit. Wow, that actually opened my mind up. That was really enlightening.
All right, so okay, so imagine what happened when the cameras were off, right? Imagine Star Wars is real.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I know, right? And it's like wrestling, you know? You think it's fake, but it's actually real. So we flew with a ship. He flew to the Sarlacc pit. He blew up, you know, the fucking Sarlacc, you know? And after that, it was like, oh, wait a minute. I actually have it on when I crawl out. Oopsie! Sorry! My bad.
I should probably point out that from now on, we are going to be diving into spoiler territory. So, just in case, because let's face it, if you've watched the Book of Boba Fett, chances are you've probably watched The Mandalorian. At least I hope to God you've watched The Mandalorian. If you haven't, what are you doing? Watch The Mandalorian. Terrible business. It is the cruel world we're living in nowadays.
That's the TikTok world we live in.
Yeah.
Just blame TikTok.
Let's start with, and again, this is probably going to be the shorter segment of the episode, but let's start with the positives. And I'm gonna preface this before you start going through what I think you're going to start going through. Name something good about this show without referencing The Mandalorian.
I'm actually having lots of good things to say about this show.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I loved big parts of the show. The flashbacks were brilliant. They were a little bit out of place, but they were brilliant. The flashbacks on its own, they were absolutely brilliant. And the way he crawled out was good, you know? The whole Mos Espa looked brilliant. The effects looked absolutely beautiful, you know? Cad Bane is back. That's brilliant. And I don't care they killed him off. They confirmed that he was alive all these years. And we could do a Book of Cad Bane, you know? Like I said, the effects, some of the fighting scenes, you know, how he fought the monster, you know, the big Kang from Mortal Kombat, or whatever his name is.
Oh, the Wookiee?
No, the four-armed monster. Anyway, the train scene was brilliant. The music is brilliant. The music is fucking phenomenal. I mean, come on. The theme song is way better than Mandalorian's. You know, that's like the John Wick, you know, poster when everyone puts guns into his head. I know, I think that theme song is way better than Mandalorian's. You know, the beginning, you know, love that. I mean, I was always excited to see another episode. I wasn't hating. I was more liked than hated it. You know, some of the scene didn't make sense. Some of the dialogue didn't make sense. Why the fuck is Boba Fett coming back to the Sarlacc even though there's no armor? He knows there's no armor inside. Anyway, we already discussed that.
I will agree with you. First of all, I do think the music was great in this. I'm just trying to think, because again, I don't want to loop too early into the negatives, but I will agree, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love this one. I think Disney has quite a problem, and, you know, hot take of the night, of course, but Disney has a very serious issue about how to handle Star Wars, whether it's, you know, the sequel trilogy, whether it's all the spin-off stuff, and obviously you don't need us to tell you, how well hated that particular trilogy or things like that were at the time. But I remember hearing about The Mandalorian and thinking, yeah, it'll be a kind of middle of the road, it won't be that great. And I remember I set time aside, I thought, okay, I'll watch it, because I think this was just after I'd watched, I think it was Solo, or you know, the kind of spin-offs like Solo, Rogue One. And don't get me wrong, I'm one of those people that I didn't mind Rogue One as much. I don't think it was
wait, people do hate Rogue One?
Oh yeah, people loathe Rogue One.
What?
Genuinely, yeah.
I thought Rogue One is one of the greatest Star Wars movies.
I think the action in it is incredible. I will say this, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and that ending scene is, well, you know, the one with Vader.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Oh, with Vader, all right.
yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah, not the CGI Carrie Fisher. No. I'm not being that nice to Disney. Come on. But after watching Solo and feeling just so, I think it was just Star Wars fatigue, you know. You were just just so much Star Wars coming out, and I don't know if I can be bothered. So I watched The Mandalorian and I was like, this is okay, I guess. And then by the end of season 1, 1, I was absolutely hooked. I watched season 2, I was waiting for every episode coming out. I was like, oh, this is, this is absolutely fantastic. I was hooked from like episode 1. Even my family, some of my family members aren't Star Wars fans at all. They absolutely hate the series. But at the same time, when I showed my parents The Mandalorian, because, we were bored with flicking through Disney Plus, and they're like, oh, what's this Mandalorian that everyone's talking about? Because, obviously Baby Yoda has made it to the mainstream, so everybody knows about The Mandalorian, and they absolutely loved it. And it struck like such a perfect balance between newcomers to the series and people who maybe didn't like it. Well, when I say like it, I mean Star Wars. Like people who haven't seen Star Wars, that kind of introduced them to the world of Star Wars, and it was just an example of things that they did right. But when it came to the Book of Boba Fett, I have to admit, this isn't one that I would recommend to like new fans or anything.
Watch Clone Wars instead.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that 100%. Go watch Clone Wars. There's 7 seasons and a spin-off Bad Batch show, so go watch it. But the things I did like about, obviously, I love the Mandalorian stuff, but again, that's not really the Boba Fett stuff, and we will kind of dive into that and talk more about it. But the visuals were really good for the most part. There is one particular aesthetic choice I want to kind of gripe on, but you'll probably have guessed what it is. But yeah, I liked a lot of the kind of designs of things. It did feel like a kind of lived-in city. I wish they kind of expanded a bit more. So it's like there's a particular scene halfway through the series where Boba Fett's trying to get them, and by them I mean the crime syndicates, onto his side, and he was just like, oh, you should, side with me, and they're like, no, we're gonna remain neutral, and it's like, okay, fair enough. So they remain neutral. We didn't really get to see a lot of them until like the last episode, and I feel as if that's quite a disservice to the overall narrative and the overall story. And again, there's another point that I've got that I'm saving up very nicely. I did like the fact that they did try to, I don't want to say humanize, because I mean he was already humanized, but the fact that they tried to give Boba Fett a bit more character and made him like a kind of sympathetic and, well-meaning guy. But the one thing I will kind of like 180 on that point is the fact that he is meant to be a crime lord. It's like if you watch Breaking Bad and then halfway through, like Heisenberg was like, I gotta get to a soup kitchen sometime. And, like half of the episode was him like doing stuff at a soup kitchen, and then the other half of the show was like a completely different Netflix show that they just spliced in. So that was kind of worked at odds at times. Just trying to think what else. It was good to see some of the iconography come back, but obviously with Luke, with Grogu, with Ahsoka. I feel as if nowadays they don't really know what to do with Ahsoka. She's just kind of there. I don't mind Ahsoka, but she's just kind of there, like, wise words, wise words, wise words. Oh yes, wise words. And you're like, okay, why are you here? Should you not be like hunting?
Ahsoka.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, shouldn't you be like doing your own thing? Because last time I think she was hunting Thrawn or something. Yeah, and here she is.
Oh my god. Can you like imagine like Luke being like on the planet and be like, oh my gosh, she's here again. Oh my god, she's got me telling me about my dad again.
You're just like your father. It's like,
oh fuck off,
me. It's like, excuse me. You mean the same one that killed children? It seems kind of insensitive to say that. Even if he was a space wizard, it seems, whether he turned like, good at the end, that kind of doesn't matter when he's already killed a bunch of kids and a couple of old people who throw around laser swords. You're like, yeah, this isn't the best time, Ahsoka. Can you just tone it down?
See, I was laughing when Luke was showing Yoda's lightsaber to Grogu, and when he lighted up in front of his eyes, I was like, oh no, here we go again. Another youngling.
You're just like your father. It's in the genetics, apparently.
No, do you know what was my favorite scene? The flashback of Grogu, You can actually see 501st, Legion. Raise up, all Clone Wars fans. Raise your hands up.
You guys can't see it because we're recording, but there is a function to raise your hand in the software we're recording in. Yep. And of course, Jan is indeed raising the roof with his hand right now.
Okay, so I got a question for you, if you're all right. So we don't have to talk about the mistakes of the show. I mean, I think it's well known, by now. There's no story. There are a bunch of teenagers who thinks they are very cool. They have to do spins all every second. Have you seen the scene how he does the spin like 360 no scope?
For
It's
no
not cool.
reason,
It's
yeah.
not cool at all.
Can I actually quickly to jump on that point?
Uh-huh.
So, do you remember the trailer for, I think it was Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic, I think it was the MMO, and there's a very similar scene where the Sith Empire, God, I sound like a nerd right now, the Sith Empire attack this space station, and there's like this really cool cowboy-looking character.
Oh, yeah.
And he does a similar spin, but the reason he does a similar spin is because he's getting shot at, and the bullets, or bolts, or whatever you want to call
Bullets. Actually, someone took a Glock, Glock 17 and started to shot him.
Order 66, you can't be too sure. Yeah, it's like he does like a weird spin, and he's got like bullets flying by him and things, and you're like, oh, right, okay, that's cool, because, it's this really kind of rugged looking, like, rogue character who's shooting back, and he does that. But I do agree, when it comes to that but that actor doing that spin, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good, guys, Disney. I'm sorry.
All right, so the mistakes are known. How would
Yes.
you fix the series without changing the story, without changing the characters? You can change one character, but without changing the story, without changing the motives, keep the same story. How would you fix it?
I would put more emphasis on Boba Fett, if I'm honest. It sounds like such a simple fix, but at the end of the day, I came to see a show called The Book of Boba Fett. It's like opening up, Charles Dickens, and then getting Shakespeare halfway through, and then it cuts back at the end to Charles Dickens, and you're like, okay, I mean, I enjoyed the middle bit, but that wasn't Charles Dickens. That's not the book I bought. But it's the fact that what I think is the main issue with this show is both its identity and its focus. Like, I feel as if they were throwing in a lot of really cool things, like, obviously the Mandalorian. And although I loved the scenes with the Mandalorian, I think that they probably should have not put such an emphasis. Like, there's literally 2 episodes where it solely focuses on the Mandalorian, rather than...
it's basically like Mandalorian 2.0.
Mhm.
Sorry, 2.5,
And don't get me wrong, I love the Mandalorian. It is one of my favourite shows.
I mean,
but...
those 2 episodes were fucking brilliant, I mean, you got the crossover between Halo and Mandalorian.
Oh,
like,
of course.
What do you want more?
One of the best scenes, of course, in the entire franchise, when the woman at the, what do you call that, like the Tatooine, not docking station, but the landing pad, she was like, oh, how was the ship? And he turns around and he just goes, wizard.
Yeah. Wizard.
Wizard. It's like, it is so dumb. I love it. I just love it.
But do you realize why people like Mandalorian more than Boba Fett? Especially in this show. It's because, why did people like Boba Fett? It's because Boba Fett was this mysterious, cool-looking guy who was badass, killing people, and everything. Here, he was basically replaced by Din Djarin. And they saw it. They were like, okay, we can make 2 Mandalorians. We need to change the character of one of those 2. And it ain't gonna be Mandalorian. It ain't gonna be Din Djarin. So they had to change Boba Fett into something different. So they, so they don't copy the same characters. That's why people are gravitating more towards Mandalorian now, because like I say, he totally replaced Boba Fett in this aspect, and that's why people don't like the series, because they don't like what Boba Fett turned into. That's what I'm getting.
I think that one of the other reasons that people love the Mandalorian so much as opposed to like the Book of Boba Fett is because it had both a focus. So the whole focus was, of course, him getting the child, and then the second developed from that. The second reason was because it had an emotional core to it. It was the fact that Din Djarin is this poor soul who got caught up in the Clone Wars, became a foundling, ended up joining this semi-religious group. I mean, they technically call it a religion, but you know what I mean. This group of Mandalorians who follow this creed. This is always known. He has known like a black and white viewpoint of life, and then he meets Grogu. These opinions are challenged. He becomes overly attached, even though he's not supposed to. To him, the kid, or Grogu, should just be any other job, and then it becomes like his kind of personal mission. Yes, I did tear up at the finale, fight me. But after that, there was like a huge journey. There was a whole range of emotions and things. For Boba Fett, though, in comparison, for Boba Fett, I know technically this isn't fair because there's only 6 episodes, or I think there's a limited range, there's like 6 or 8 episodes, but there's not a lot of episodes to kind of work on. But you think, okay, that's perfectly fine because Boba Fett has been expanded on during the entirety of Star Wars ever since The Empire Strikes Back. And you think, okay, he's had time to kind of develop his character and things, but when he comes to Tatooine and he just takes over, correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I could be wrong, but Boba Fett has no emotional ties to Tatooine. Yeah. He's got no emotional claims to Jabba or his throne or anything. He just, as we established, he just shoots Bib Fortuna, takes over his throne, and can I just say, see if you're going to create like a crime family, and this is an example I think I said to a friend, but it's like, have you ever heard of The Sopranos?
Yeah, but I never saw it.
It's just like your kind of standard famous mafia show. But it's like, if you had a show like The Sopranos, or just insert any other mafia show here, and they were like, right, I'm going to start like a mafia family. But you had like 2 people, one of which was like someone you met while they were passed out, and then they woke up and they're like, oh, right, okay, let's start a crime family together. And it's like, you've got no resources, you've got no family. These are the kind of logistical things you should be thinking of before you actually, create a crime family. So right off the bat, the whole premise is like, what, why? And then of course there's the, as you said, there's the infamous biker gang, which I'm going to be honest, I don't hate the idea of it. Well, first of all, that chase scene with them is...
Chase is like a strong word,
Yeah, sorry, mile jog. That is one of the worst. That's genuinely one of the worst scenes I've ever seen. I've actually seen a guy, I've actually gone into the city and, seen a guy on, one of those, like, what do you call that? Like hoverboards. It's like you put your feet on it and it's like the 2 wheels at either side. Yeah, I think you call them hoverboard. I can't remember, but you know what I mean. It's like, I've seen a guy like that zoom in to like a bank, and let me tell you, he was zooming in faster than the speed these guys were going. And he was just like, I don't know what he was doing, but it's like he was going about his daily business so fast compared to these guys, which were supposed to be like going on this epic chase and things. And I think it's just like, with a lot of things, they probably thought, oh, this is going to be really cool. It fell flat. But one of the things, I'm actually curious to hear what you think about this, kind of jumping to the ending, because they tie everything, in a neat bow relatively, but there's a particular scene I want to point out, and it's when Boba Fett is like walking through the streets and he's like, oh, I don't think this is for me, kind of thing.
Yeah. I was like, fuck off. So what's the whole point of the series then?
Why did I waste 6 hours on this shit? What?
Yeah. I was like thinking the same. I was like, oh, what?
And then see, like directly after that, there's a scene where I can't even remember his name, but he gives the
the spinning guy.
No, it's Boba Fett gives the Wookiee the
Chrysanthemum, yeah.
They give him the like fruit, and Fennec Shand is like, oh, he doesn't want to share. Ha 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 ha. I kid you not, I was expecting a freeze frame followed by like a PSA of, hey kids, spice isn't good. Don't take spice. Like some kind of PSA at the end. You're like, what is this? What? It felt like a Saturday morning cartoon, but did you feel the same?
See, I always cringe when I'm watching like any TV show or movie, and the last shot of the movie is everyone laughing. I always cringe to that, and I was hoping this is not gonna happen, but it did happen in this series, like, well, and I'm not gonna get a share. Woohoo! Like I can imagine like Boba Fett like grabbing his stomach, like yay! But like there's simple way how to change the whole series, to make it better, how to improve the series. And there's just one simple changeover. Just a simple changeover. Instead of Book of Boba Fett, why can't it be a Book of Cobb Vanth? Because think about it, it makes more sense. Just like you said, Cobb Vanth has a connection to the Tatooine. You know, he has that emotional connection. He isn't the criminal lord, so he doesn't want the spice running through his city. Unlike Boba Fett, like he's a fucking criminal lord. That's how he makes profit, by making illegal things. So that doesn't make sense much. But because he's honorable now, no. Cobb Vanth makes more sense. Imagine this, right? You can see the fucking awesome scene when he came to those Pikes,
the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, when he came to them, it was like, I don't want any drugs in my town, and shoot them, and it was like, think about it. Oh, I love that scene. That was brilliant. But keep that as an opening, and make the series. The story is the same, but it just changed Cobb Vanth preventing the drugs on his planet to be, and Boba Fett can be there as well. But he's not a main character. Because let's face it, Boba Fett as a main character, it doesn't work. There's nothing to him that could make him a main character. That's why Cobb Vanth should be the main character of this series. And the show should be around him. Imagine the show like about a badass marshal who comes to the town, and be like, hey, I don't want that shit in my town, alright? And be like shooting the gangsters, and Boba Fett will give him like an emotional support because he can't do anything. So I just imagine like Boba Fett being in the background like, oh jeez, Cobb, that was good.
Like a bantha.
Like a bantha.
Bantha, yeah.
Try spinning. That's a good trick. Wouldn't that make more sense? And then the dramatic scene at the end of the first episode could be of Cad Bane walking into the town and be like, hey, Cobb, I know you're quite a badass, like you actually deserve some armor. There's another thing by me, Cobb Vanth being a main character, because Boba Fett, he's untouchable with that armor, you can't kill him with that armor. Cobb Vanth doesn't have that armor, so that makes more stakes, and he might die, and that raise the attention and the stakes of the show. So end of the first episode could be Cad Bane walking in the town and be like, hey, you're quite a badass, I just shit my pants for just watching it right now, but hey, let the things play out, or I'm gonna raise hell. And that could be like the end, like the first episode, and Cobb Vanth could be like, oh no, and that could change the whole series. It would make more sense. There's the same story, but the stakes are higher. And Boba Fett could be there. He could be like a background character, like side character. You can come to him, for help. Boba Fett could give him a hand to defend the town, at the finale. And you don't have to bring Mandalorian into it at all. You don't have to bring Baby Yoda into it. It would make more sense. What do you think?
I think, first of all, absolutely fantastic point. It definitely should have been the Cobb Vanth show. The thing is, because initially I thought, oh, maybe it's because, he wouldn't have been this popular, because this is a problem I have. I think that because Boba Fett is the one with the brand recognition, that way it's like, because everybody knows who Boba Fett is, everybody's got, the merchandise for him, and they've seen the Empire Strikes Back scenes 1,000 times and everything. And it almost feels, and I get it, it's Disney, this is grabbing the low-hanging fruit here, that it's like, it feels manufactured. But in this it did. It's like, oh, look at the Tusken Raiders, they're wearing all black in the desert. And I was like, huh. Seems like a pretty poor colour if you want to stay cool in the desert. But then I was thinking, oh yeah, because it'll be to sell the toys, won't it? It's not because, it's because the Tusken Raiders have such a diverse and, unique history. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the Tusken Raiders. The few times we've seen them, obviously other than Attack of the Clones, where Anakin killed them all, again, look, just like your father. Honestly, it just felt as if they were there just to be like, oh, it's this emotional resonance. This is the thing that I'm looping back at myself on. It's trying to manufacture this emotional resonance where it's like, oh, look, Boba Fett's angry because his foster family got killed.
Okay,
and you're like, okay, first
his
of all,
foster
you
family
got kidnapped. Yeah.
Yes. They made him a slave as well.
But that's exactly the thing, though. It's like, it feels almost like Stockholm Syndrome. The Book of Stockholm Syndrome, that should have been called. Because it's like, well, okay, we've got Tusken Raiders who are well known to grab people in the middle of the desert. They don't actively go and kidnap people, but it's like, they're not nice people in this. And yet somehow it's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to feel bad that they kidnapped Boba Fett and they made him one of his own. It's like, it's not like they were helping him and kind of just wary of him. That's why they kind of like kept him captive. slave. No, it was just so they could use him as as you said, a slave.
No, actually, I should disagree with that because I like that they humanized the Tusken Raiders. I mean, think about it, right? Before the Mandalorian season 2, because that was the first time they humanized the Tusken Raiders. Before that, the scene where Anakin is slaughtering the Tusken Raiders, just like Luke, just like your father, it doesn't really make sense because we're supposed to feel sorry for Anakin or feel sorry for the Tusken Raiders. But only thing they showed us is like these brute savages who will kill anything, these animals, right? But now, when they humanize them, and then you look back to Attack of the Clones, you're like, okay, these are actual people, and then makes more sense that Anakin went to the dark side because in your eyes, before the Mandalorian season 2, he did nothing wrong. He just killed some animals who were threatening to kill his mom and his life. I don't know what's the big fuss about, but now it actually makes sense why is it such a big deal because there are people, so that's why it's always looking back.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like a hindsight thing. I don't know. I felt as if maybe it's partly because they didn't have prisoners with them in The Mandalorian, where I loved the way they characterized them and humanized them in The Mandalorian because, they had their own language, not the grunts, but like their sign language, which actually is apparently based on American Sign Language. Like they made up like a whole Tuscan language or sign language based on American Sign Language. Yeah, it's really cool how much effort went into kind of humanizing them and bringing them, into this, as you said, making them more human and sympathetic. But then they just make a 180 and they're like, oh no, the Tusken Raiders still, still kidnap people and they wear all black this time. Again, I don't get the fashion faux pas here, but it's like, it's just like, oh, it's to distinguish them and that's why Boba Fett looked the way he did in The Mandalorian. And I don't know, I'm a bit iffy about it. I just feel as if it's like quite shallow reasoning for the whole show. This is the thing, like think back to The Mandalorian or even the Clone Wars. If the Jedi didn't care about the Republic, if the only reason they cared about the Republic was because their temple was there, or because the Mandalorian only cared about Grogu because Grogu just happened to be in the vicinity, you wouldn't care. Like, why should we care as an audience if clearly the characters don't care? And then it's all of a sudden, oh no, I love the Tuskens. And can I just one kind of final thing about the biker gang? Why are there so many bikers in this show? There are so many biker gangs. And you're like, what happens when the Republic is this like George Lucas, and I know he's not in charge, but was this like George Lucas's dream for like a version of Footloose set in Star Wars? It's like the Empire banned all speeders, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the Empire fall, oh, they got a speeder gang. There. And you're like, why was this necessary? Dude, I don't get it. I don't get it, but sorry, that was a kind of nitpick. There are quite a few glaring issues. Like, is there any other issues you would like to kind of...
See, I don't want to focus on the negatives,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
See, I was watching this YouTube channel. They were talking about Book of Boba Fett. I don't remember what was the name of the video, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like something shitty, it was just Book of Boba Fett opinion or something. I don't know, like, it was something like passive, like, it wasn't something like very aggressive. So I watched the video, right? And a few seconds like, so the Book of Boba Fett, my true opinion is that, what was the name of the guy who shoot the series? So there was like, the video starts, so Book of Boba Fett is behind us, and there were some good things, but mainly, Robert Rodriguez should never direct any Star Wars ever again, and he should burn in hell. I was like, what the hell? He just out of nowhere starts shouting at the microphone, like ranting about Robert Rodriguez, like, he is not good director. Like, let's face it, like, his episode in the second season of Mandalorian isn't the best, and it's the one where Boba Fett's coming back, it was just full of action, and he directed most of the Boba Fett series, and the actual good episodes are the ones with him not directing. Like, okay, so he's not a good director, so what? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, people make mistakes, so just get over it.
I think, again, this is one of the major issues with the show as well. it's something like we have both said on this episode. We've said it's not a good series, but it's not a bad series. It's
Yeah.
just somewhere uncomfortably in the middle, and it's got some great stuff. It's got some terrible stuff, but it's like, one of those like balancing scales where it's like it's going up and down constantly. I wouldn't say it's justified to be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, because no, there's so many things in the Star Wars universe that are so much worse. Looking at you, sequel trilogy, but or even Solo, because I think
More. Actually, I like Solo.
oh yeah, that's next time's episode. I fell asleep at Solo. I'm sorry.
Look,
Like
do you know what Star Wars movie I hate the most?
is it Attack of the Clones by any
No, it's
chance?
the Return of the Jedi. I don't like Return of the Jedi. I absolutely hate Return of the Jedi, and if it was up to me, I would always skip the movie.
I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of it either. I think it's okay. I think it's got some really good scenes, but see the whole beginning, I do not like the beginning. I just don't like Tatooine, honestly. I feel as if you go to Tatooine, then your film is pretty much doomed. You've got Phantom Menace, you've got, even though like there is some redeemability, you've got Phantom
Okay,
Menace.
so you want to
which
say
was
that A New Hope was a total failure?
Okay, except for that one. That's the exception to
That
the
one's
rule
a bit-
now. I did not like, or not that I didn't like Return of the Jedi. I literally thought it was okay. The fight between Vader and
Oh yeah,
Luke
yeah.
is great.
That's
like
the
that
only
whole sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, the space battle and the Emperor Luke Vader thing is brilliant. But outside of that, fucking, I hate Ewoks. I can't stand Ewoks. I very don't like them. I don't why. It's like babies, I don't know why people found them cute. It's just annoying.
It's surprising how it took until The Mandalorian for people to be like, now here's a baby character that we can really
Oh
get
yeah,
alongside.
that's a difference. Like I'm actually surprised that I like Baby Yoda as well. Let's call him Baby Yoda. I know his name is Grogu, but
Yeah, I mean,
That's
he
just-
is, yeah.
yeah, he's a baby and he's a Yoda. So
I remember hearing about Baby Yoda like before The Mandalorian came out, and I was like, great, Baby Yoda. It's going to be one of these like disgustingly, like manufactured marketing
CGI
tools. Yeah.
monstrosity.
And then as soon as it came out, I was like, you sons of bitches, I'm in. I was absolutely hooked. I was like, I know this is a CGI / puppet thing, but my god, they did like such a good design with it. In fact, have you seen the original design of it? Oh, it is a thing. Like, I would honestly recommend you go look up the original design for Baby Yoda. It looks more like a mini Shrek, I think, than it does actually Baby Yoda. But I'm getting sidetracked because it's amazing how we're like, yeah, Book of Yoda. Anyway, about Baby Yoda, and I think that is actually probably one of the issues as well.
Wait, did you say Book of Yoda?
I wish.
No, you.
I probably did, yeah.
I was
But
like,
even then,
what?
it's like I'm still thinking of Baby Yoda as opposed to Boba Fett.
Boba
because
Fett.
I think I actually put out a meme on my Twitter page like that, where it was like, the guys, it's like the two shots. The first one's the guys like sitting on the couch and they're, they look very bemused and bored. And then the second picture underneath is them all cheering, going, yeah! So I had like a picture of the Book of Boba Fett up. And,
Oh yeah, I
they're-
think you said it to me. Yeah.
yeah, and they look quite, bemused, like, oh, I don't know. And then I put a picture of Baby Yoda just beside him, and I'm like, yes! That is honestly how I felt throughout the series. Everything to do with The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, I was all for it.
See, there's one thing that came good from the series. There are the memes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
memes that are fucking brilliant. The Polynesian spa, the
Cad Bane Techno Union.
yeah, the Cat Bane Techno Union. And like the whole scene is like so meme worthy. You know how he shows up like every time he says a line, his head is getting bigger.
Yeah. So good.
There are like videos like instead of Cat Bane, there's like Chad Bane or Sad Bane. Have you seen those?
Yeah, they're so good. It's like,
But the best meme I've seen from the series is the Boba Fett is a cold-blooded killer, and there's a montage of him, failing at everything. I remember I was watching it in my bed, my girlfriend was falling asleep, and I just click on this video, like, I burst of laughter, like the editing thing is so brilliant.
It's absolutely fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, like we can't do justice describing it to you. Just look up Book of Boba Fett memes and you'll see what we mean.
Bad Bane, yeah, Techno Union Bane. Oh, it's brilliant.
As a kind of closing point, because I know you said like you didn't want to end on a kind of a low note for saying, oh, don't watch a show or anything, but would you recommend this show to people who either are just getting into Star Wars or, you know, existing fans? Would you say this is a show that you would recommend to them?
Yeah, it's still Star Wars, you know, and like we said, there are lots of good things, you know. At least if you don't want to watch the series, just listen to the theme song. That's brilliant. I don't know, like I still recommend it to someone. Like my cousin haven't seen it yet. Watch Book of Boba Fett. Watch Book of Boba Fett, you know, because he's also like massive Star Wars fan, but he never does it. I would still recommend it. You wouldn't?
No, I would recommend it, but I would err a thing of caution because I feel as if you go in watching like The Mandalorian first and then you go in to watch the Book of Boba Fett, like again, it's like a completely different show, it's completely different characters, and I know I've unfairly been kind of comparing the two. I really don't want to make it as if the Mandalorian fanboy as I look at the Mandalorian helmet in the corner of the room. Hashtag this is the way. But at the same time, it's like a show that's been so lovingly crafted. It's got like so many Easter eggs and things in it. And the Book of Boba Fett has those too. It's a shame there was no focus. They had like good ideas and they had like what could have been a great show. I think this is the thing that aggrieves most people. It's not the fact that it was bad in a lot of places, but more it could have been more. And it's going back to this idea of having Boba Fett purely for his namesake. I don't know if you've ever played like a RPG game or anything like that where you'll get a character who's like, oh yes, this is Jim, son of John, and he's like the ultimate fighter of the kingdom or something, and then throughout the entire game he's just constantly getting beat on, and you're like, this guy has been like built up to be like the champion. What's going on here? It's like, no, like he's building up to something, and he might have like one cool scene, but everything else is like and that's how I felt it was with this. It was like, I remember Boba Fett in this more as like a gentle giant rather than, and it's kind of ironic because we actually do, well, he's not gentle, but he's a giant, the Wookiee character, who is cool. He is really cool. I did like his character, but the thing I felt was kind of off at the end was, as you said, when they pose at the end, they laugh. Very funny. Again, it felt as if they were kind of kidding on, or not kidding on, but they were kind of hinting towards like a spin-off series. And I bet you any money there's going to be like a cartoon or something that's going to come out, or there's going to be something that comes out as a spin-off series for the mods and things.
No, please no.
Because they were really pushing them, and I think that's why. I mean, if Andor, the guy from Rogue One, which I have to admit, even I had to look up his name when I saw that show was announced.
I'm actually looking forward for the series, you know, like, because I really like Rogue One, and I think Andor is actually a good character. Let him team up with Cobb Vanth and take off the spike singers on Tatooine.
But that's the thing, though. If he can get a spin-off show, then Cobb Vanth should have been.
Please don't do that. Please don't tell me there's gonna be a mods TV series. I don't want to see that. Oh.
There'll be, I bet you'll be a cartoon series or something.
No!
Or... Search your heart, you know it to be true.
No, it's not true.
Oh, I hope not, but I get the feeling it's going to be Disney being Disney. But do you know what the worst part? So maybe it's ending on a slightly negative note, but do you know what is the worst part of this? It's the fact that Disney are basically, I mean, George Lucas was the same as well. I'm not going to say he wasn't at fault as well, but it's the fact that this universe is so ripe for like a cowboy setting. You know, you had Cad Bane, you had Boba Fett, you had, you know, the Mandalorian. They're all based in kind of Western stereotypes, and I feel as if we kind of got blue balls with like the fact that we didn't get an actual, you know, cowboy thing. It was like kind of smidgens, and it's like,
maybe
come on.
did, like with Cad Bane, you know, shooting the marshal, you know.
Yeah, because that was so cool, that scene.
That was, see, that's why I'm saying Cad Bane should be like the main character, because just that scene alone had so much tension and there was a conflict, something that's missing the whole series. There was actual conflict, you know.
Yeah, I know I said that was our final point, but there is one one question I want to ask you just before we finish up.
Yeah, it's like a post-credit scene, on a Marvel movie.
This is the Satsunami in the back to tank scene.
In a Polynesian spa.
Yeah, exactly. Like a bantha. Yeah, I know I've said it before, but it's so damn funny. What are your hopes for a season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett if they were to announce it? Because I don't know whether they will or not. I don't know what they'll call it, like the books of Boba Fett. I don't know if they will, but let's say hypothetically they have like announced it. Maybe they have, because at the time of recording they haven't announced anything. But what would your hopes be for like a Boba Fett series going forward?
See, honestly, I have no idea.
No.
I don't think there's gonna be a second season. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen. But maybe it's just gonna be one episode where Boba Fett's gonna kill all those kids, those mods, because I don't really like them, and riding 2 Rankhorns instead of 1. No, I really have no idea. I don't know what I would do. As a talented writer I am. No idea. There's like nowhere you can put the story. Don't know, like Boba Fett fighting the First Order.
No, he'll be long dead by then. Sure. Please, Disney, kill him off. I'm not saying that
Too
like
old.
actively.
He's already
but
dead.
yeah, it's like, come on, he's had his time. Don't do it, Disney. Just don't do it.
If there's somewhere I want to see Tamara Morrison be, is a Captain Rex live action.
Oh yeah.
That's what I want to see, not Boba Fett.
I don't want to, like, although I've kind of criticised, the characters and things like that in certain aspects of the show, I don't want to put any hate or anything towards, like, the actors, because I think, no matter how mean-worthy those scenes were, and believe me, they were mean-worthy, chef kiss. Honestly, I think that the actors still did a serviceable job. They still did great with what they were doing. Even Boba Fett's actor, again, I know you said him as Captain Rex would be amazing, but he still did a good job with what he had.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And Ming, what's her name? Ming-Na Wen, I had to Google it. She is a brilliant Fennec Shan, and you can actually see that she's like a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
She was like a Star Wars fan since childhood or something, So like you can see those are actually. Have you seen the interview where they were like guessing what characters they're gonna be? Like, it was the game, like, guess what your character's gonna be, and she's like, you can see her being all excited, to be in the same room as Tamara Morrison. Tamara Morrison is always just talking about Attack of the Clones and how Mace Windu cut his head off. It's a brilliant interview. Just look it up, and you can see like those two actually have passion for the series, like the Star Wars as a whole. Just bad directing, like, can't be perfect all the time. It happens. Shit happens.
I think, though, that you can definitely tell that a lot of them are having fun. What I will say is, I feel as if it's like, do you know, like, when a child is playing with, the action figures, and it's like, pew pew, I'm going to be head of, Mos Eisley, even though, like, it makes no sense. It kind of almost feels as if that's what the Book of Boba Fett is like. It's like a child playing with toys, and it's like, oh no, it's the Mandalorian. It's coming in. Like, just all this random nonsense. And then, of course, his, like, sisters, I don't know, colourful, biker dolls have come in. It's like, oh no, it's the mods. Yeah, the mods, of course. And, making up an excuse. At the end of the day, this isn't the Mandalorian, and I'm not trying to say that as a slight to anybody, but it's like, it's not going to be emotionally heart-tugging, except the Mandalorian scenes, ironically. It's not going to be the perfect Star Wars media. It's not going to be the one you're going to be, unless you're a diehard Boba Fett fan, but you're not going to be praising it to people. But at the same time, I don't think it deserves the hate it gets. It's more like a victim of not having the focus and the basis, because it seems as if they had the idea there and they saw Boba Fett sitting on the throne and they thought, oh, he looks cool. And then that was it. It was like, okay, it looks cool, then
what?
Then what? Is like, now what? And they just,
someone's gonna shoot him.
Yeah, exactly. No. So, if Cad Bane shot Boba Fett, would that make him the new crime lord?
No, but he wasn't sitting on the throne. He must be sitting on the throne. That's the lore.
Oh, of course. I mean, Jabba was sitting on the throne, technically.
Yeah.
Well, the barge.
Okay, so
but
in that case, isn't Princess Leia then the rightful ruler of the Jabba the Hutt Empire?
Are you trying to justify this like the Darksaber rules?
I mean, she did kill him, and he was sitting on the bed. technically. Maybe it must be the specific throne. I don't know.
Yeah, Tatooine politics are weird. One thing I will say, sorry, just touching on Tatooine politics, see the advisor.
Oh, I hate him.
I don't like him, yeah. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
going to
yeah.
expand on it, no ill will to the actor or anything. I just didn't like his
No,
character.
the actor was horrible as well. Just
Yeah,
shoot him. Not
Jesus.
actually in that movie.
Yeah.
No. Just shoot him in the movie.
But at the end of the day, though, it is Star Wars. Star Wars has become the Marmite of sci-fi right now. You're either going to love what they're bringing out or you're going to hate it. But for what it's worth, I don't think it's worth all the vitriol that people are throwing. You're right. It's not worth all the people, like, tearing out their hair and things. Like, there's a lot of stupid things, Like, I watch it and go, what the hell was that? But that's it. There's worse things to worry about than whether or not Boba Fett's taking over Tatooine.
Look at the bright side now, right? The Book of Boba Fett is finished. So what's next? Obi-Wan TV series. On Tatooine again,
Exactly.
by the way. Just saying.
Oh, good. I have hopes. I have a new hope, as it were.
I mean, of course, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be Ewan McGregor, the Scottish lad. It's gonna have Hayden Christensen in it. It can't be a failure. It can't be worse than Book of Boba Fett,
Exactly.
or the same level as Book of Boba Fett. It just can't be. An actual confident director as well.
It's as you said with the cast of this series, the fact that Ewan McGregor and I'm assuming Hayden Christensen are fans of the series, and you can tell that like Ewan McGregor does have a passion for Star Wars and things.
Yeah.
So I'll be excited to see what he brings to it. This is probably going to date the episode, but either you're listening to this and the series has gone absolutely fantastic, or it's an utter train wreck. But at least it's not the Book of Boba Fett, so I'll leave it at that.
I would celebrate the end of Book of Boba Fett, not as a failure, but as a thing. Everyone who's listening to this episode, they should watch this video. It's called Cat Bane Dines with Autotune. Watch that as a celebration of the end of Book of Boba Fett.
I have watched that video as well. You will not regret it. It's so good. So good. On that note, thank you, Jan, so much for once again jumping into a Star Wars episode with me. Because I know whenever I need to talk about Star Wars...
And every time you choose someone else, I get offended.
Exactly. I was going to say, I would choose Craig, but then he'd be like, nah, what's the Star Wars? Nah. But you are the best person.
He still haven't seen the Clone Wars, so...
I mean, it's a good series. Craig, get on it. You're being called out publicly.
Well, I think he's still watching. I'm not sure now, to be honest.
I think he watched some of it. You know what? I'm going to go and ask him right now. But see, as I go and ask him whether or not he's seen the Clone Wars, where can these lovely people listening at home find your content?
You can follow me on Instagram, where I'm posting my fan arts and my arts when I'm drawing at home. But that's like the only thing I do because we don't record episodes right now. You can find our podcast Beer and Chill on Anchor, Spotify, blah blah blah, the usual. There is no new content, but we have new content, we just haven't released it. So yeah, you can find me there, you can find Craig there, and yeah.
I would just echo that. Beer and Chill pod is it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a really fun, entertaining podcast where you've talked about like movies, gaming. Even I've been on a couple of episodes. So
oh really? I don't remember.
Yeah. You weren't there. It's fine.
Oh yeah, you're like the good replacement. Every time someone's missing, we're gonna call Satsunami.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I'm like the Book of Boba Fett's of replacements. I'm not great. I'm not bad. I'm just kind of in the middle. You remember me for the name. That's all. You don't remember me for the articulate arguments.
That's not true.
No.
That's not true. It's impossible.
Yeah. I was gonna say search your feelings and do that line, but I've already used that card, damn it. So
you must think like a bantha.
Like a bantha, yes.
Okay, so it's time to jump into Polynesian spa. So
So as you jump in the Polynesian spa, if you guys want to check out more of the Chatsunami episodes, you can check us out on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all the great places. If you've got a podcast app, just type in Chatsunami and yeah, you will find it there. 9 times out of 10, if you find a Star Wars episode, chances are, Jan, you'll be in the background.
I mean, I have to. Who else?
Oh, of course, yeah. Go check out our Bad Batch review. It was a fantastic episode. On that note, thank you all so much for listening. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated.
Like a bantha.
Like a bantha.